All right, so it is 12 o'clock. We will get started here. I noticed some people are still joining, but we will get started without any further ado. So first of all, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Kyle Flynn. I am the Platinum Account Manager here at Voices.com. I handle all of the Platinum talent here, much like Andrea there, and kind of help them throughout their career here on Voices.com. Little housekeeping rules. I will be kind of the mediator today. So we will have a Q&A session. Basically down there at the bottom, you can see a spot where you can enter questions. At the end of it, we will go through those questions and make sure that we can get as many as we can answered. For any questions that we do miss, I apologize, but we did chat with Andrea, and she said that if you guys get in contact with her, then she would be happy to answer any questions that we didn't get to. All right, and without any further ado, I will hand things over to Andrea here. So Andrea, if you could introduce yourself, and we'll get rolling here.
Hi, everybody. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
We can.
Good. So technical glitches out of the way. Yay! That was my biggest stress today, is that I'm so excited to talk to everybody. But when it comes to the screen sharing and the Zooming and, and there's a lot of people on the line, you don't want to make mistakes in front of everybody. But I'm so honored to be here today. I, just like you, am a user of Voices.com, a huge fan of Voices.com. And I can honestly say that it has changed my voiceover career, and I'm going to get into that with you today. And we're also going to talk about some juicy tips when it comes to the conversational read. So I'm here to make your voiceover dreams finally come true with the tools that you need to grow a lucrative voiceover career fast. Now, we're going to talk about the most requested, most bookable voiceover read out there today, and that is the conversational read. Like many of you, I was doing auditions this morning, which I hope you are too. There's always a lot to get at first thing in the morning. I find that's my favorite time to do auditions. One, because a lot of them have just come in, and two, because you just feel very refreshed. You've had a couple cups of coffee, some water, you kind of ease into it. And I find that that's when I'm my most productive and I do my best work. That being said, so probably 80% of the jobs that I saw this morning were asking for relatable and conversational. And probably the other percentage said something like genuine and sincere, which I would argue and lots of times is also relatable and conversational. People want to hear the real you. They want to feel like a human is in their e-learning or their commercial. And so that's why we're seeing so much of it these days. And this is one of those deliveries, if not the delivery, that if you can master it, you're going to start booking a lot more jobs. So I'll tell you a bit about myself. I'm a voiceover artist and a voiceover coach. I'm also a national radio host. I've been doing that for over a decade in Canada. I'm a podcaster. I have a podcast called the Voiceover Profit Project Masterclass. I'm the mom of Sadie, who is 10 months old, who was screaming in here minutes before we went live with this webinar. I have a husband named Steve, and I'm the creator of the Voiceover Profit Project. That is my masterclass with all the tools you need to build a successful voiceover career. And I created it for you because I was tired of seeing people waste money on really expensive coaches I've been taken advantage of. I've been seeing a lot of advice out there that I don't feel as modern, I should say, because the industry has changed a lot. It's primarily online. And I wanted to show you the tools I use to literally grow a six-figure voiceover business in under a year. And it's so possible. I'm telling you. So now I work with brands like Diet Pepsi, iHeartRadio, Dove, Burt's Bees, Google, HBO. Just this morning, I was doing a job with AT&T and a film studio in Germany, but it wasn't always like that. I'm telling you, in 2018, I was smiling and pregnant, but I'm actually freaking out because I had just been laid off my job in radio. And that's just what I'd always done. That was always my income. And so that was suddenly gone. I was pregnant. and I had a giant mortgage and I had no job prospects. And I was in this weird position of being like, okay, well, I can't really start a new job because 2 months later I'll be having a baby, and then I want to be with the baby. So I knew that the clock was ticking, and I needed to figure out how I was going to make a side hustle a full-time hustle. And for me, that was voiceover. I know a lot of people right now with COVID, with so many people not at work right now. Maybe you've been laid off. Maybe you're just looking to build some side income because you have more time right now. That's also a great opportunity to build this career. And I can definitely help you do that, because I, like you, wanted something lucrative, flexible, remote, online. In the case of being pregnant, I needed to do it fast. And I knew that a big part of that would be perfecting that read that clients really wanted these days. And that is what we're talking about today, the conversational read. So what is the conversational read? It is relatable. It is trustworthy. It's the guy or the girl next door. You've probably seen all of these descriptors in the job postings out there. It's casual. It's down to earth. Maybe it's a friend, a coworker, a neighbor, or a family member. What it is not is this guy. It is not salesy. It is not forced. It's not boomy. It's not movie trailer-esque. I hope you like my made up words here. It's not car commercial-y. It's also not announcery, but at the same time, it's not flat and it's not monotone. So when do you use this style of read? Well, whenever a job posting or audition says relatable, conversational, natural, casual, believable. And let's say the job posting says none of those things. And it's one of these ones that just, it's null in that area. There's nothing written. Lots of times I'll look at what the product is or who the company is that's posting it. And I'll say, okay, you know what? This is like a women's skincare product targeted towards millennial females. And they're talking about how I don't know, like maybe it's a super organic product. You're going to know that they don't want that in your face sell, and they want something more down to earth and relatable and natural. And so that's when I'll gravitate towards that. That's just if you don't see it in the job posting. Here are a couple of jobs that I recently got, and I wanted to show, I'm just telling you that because I leaned into my conversational read. And I think that was a big part in landing these ones. And I'm going to show you that conversational read coming up in a little bit. So they were saying, we're doing a sales video for a major tech company, and we need a calm, engaging, real female voice to carry this video along. The voiceover should feel relaxed, emotional, engaging, and not at all salesy. When you see that line, like not at all salesy, you know you can really lean into a more casual read. We're looking for a natural read, a mom at a supermarket, essentially reading off the grocery list, reminding shoppers to pick up some lottery tickets. Conversational and casual without going over the top salesy. So here are my top 10 tips for mastering the conversational read. This is before we get into some examples of what the conversational read sounds like. You want to stop performing. So you might not think you sound like you are, but the listener picks up on it. And that's the hardest part, is that sometimes you don't know what you sound like. And so you might think you're being totally conversational, but then chances are you might not be. I coach a lot of people, and especially with the conversational read. And I find that I'll say, okay, let's do that again, but like try to make it like you're talking to a friend. And it'll sound exactly the same. So you might think you're switching it up, but sometimes it just doesn't quite achieve that casual performance. And one of the problems is because you're performing. And that's a common problem when we sit down in front of a microphone. It's like subliminal. In the back of your head, you immediately turn on. And when you turn on too much and you put on this, I'm a voiceover artist or I'm an announcer kind of role, it becomes a bit fake, right? Like you lose that authenticity. So you want to try to stop performing. And a good way to know if you're performing or not is to listen back to yourself. I always kind of listen back and I go, okay, was that actually conversational? I don't think it was. And then I'll go back and I'll redo it. Do not speak louder. lots of times we think that we really need to project when we're talking in voiceover. And I have found that the more I try to project, the less natural it sounds. And so lots of times you might record something and think, it just doesn't seem loud enough though. Well, you can do that in After Effects. You can go in and you can pump up the audio a little bit, turn up the volume that way to like -3 dB or -1. And I was listening to some other artists who do really well in voiceover and especially conversationally. And I noticed that's what they were doing. They were talking in a way that's almost like just like the way that I'm talking right now in this volume. And they were amping it up in post-production, which if you're not a editing genius, that's fine. Literally, the internet is your best friend, which I'm sure a lot of you already know. You can Google just about anything for the program that you're using and learn how to just like boost it up a little bit. I'm always cautious of using too many effects on my voice afterwards, though. I usually just boost it a bit, and that's about it. You don't want to overdo it. Overpronunciation will blow your cover. This is literally the difference between saying, let's say I'm reading this sentence. Overpronunciation will blow your cover. That's how I'd say it in a conversational way. Non-conversational would be overpronunciation will blow your cover. So you just sort of string the sentence together. It's not mumbling, but it's talking at a natural clip. Be aware of over-inflection. I used to do a job for some kids' toys. I actually did something called the Kitty Roo, which is one of my favorite jobs. It's an infomercial for a hoodie with cat ears on it, and you can put your cat into the pouch. And so it's called the Kitty Roo. And that casting director would always say to me, like, Andrea, let's hear your peaks and valleys, because they wanted it to be like this. And I'll step away from my microphone. Like, Kitty Roo, the hoodie with ears. And so they wanted it so up and down. So those are your peaks and valleys. You want to not do that with a conversational read. Stay away from the Kitty Roo. Okay, so you want to mimic conversational body language. Even if, like, what do you look like when you're in conversation? Right now, I'm kind of slunched over. My hands are generally moving when I'm talking. And I find that's really helpful when you're recording your auditions, especially when it comes to being super conversational. So you have to ask yourself, what do I do that would make me feel more relaxed? What would I look like if I was in conversation with a friend? And then you want to honestly try to mimic that when you're doing voiceover. It might feel weird, but even if you have to get, your slouch on, lots of times we hear you should have like perfect posture when you're recording, and I don't think that's always the case. Use flair words, but do not force your delivery. Play with one word in each sentence, or at least use your discretion. When it came to flair words, this is something that I noticed I was doing myself, and I would book a lot of jobs in the sense that I wasn't performing, I wasn't overacting, but with one word, I would kind of play with it a little bit. Because here's my theory. If the client who's posted their job, it's one of these auditions where you see 50 people have auditioned already, they're going to hear a lot of great talent. There's so many great talents on voices.com. And so what are you going to do to stand out? In my opinion, lots of times that's saying a word a little bit differently. Not to say you're going to suddenly talk in a character voice or do something weird, but I'm going to show you coming up in some examples of how you can add a little pepper, salt and pepper to a specific word in a sentence. Be real with yourself. Listen back to your audio. Do you really think you sound natural and conversational? Also, a second opinion never hurts. I find it's beneficial to all of us to not be shy about your work, because then you get some honest feedback. My husband, he heard me doing some voiceover a few months ago, and he was like, why are you talking in that voice? That doesn't sound like you. You don't talk like that. And he wasn't thinking much of it, but it really impacted me because I was like, he's right. I'm turning it on. I'm not being myself. And when he said that, I took it to heart. And I said, I'm going to start playing my stuff for more people and hear what they have to say. I have a couple friends in voiceover too, and I'll be like, can you listen to my stuff and just let me know what you think? So if you have a friend that's maybe also getting into voiceover, it doesn't help to give each other feedback You don't necessarily have to pay a professional a bunch of money to give their honest opinion when your friends can be just as helpful. You have to be real with your script. What is your script trying to say? And how would you explain it to a friend? I never took acting classes for voiceover, and I know a lot of people swear by it because it helps them get into character. I like to think of scripts as I guess I'm kind of getting into character, but it's mostly like if you can understand who the product's for and who you would be as the person reading the commercial, that really helps. It helps with the conversationalness of it, in the sense that maybe it's a product for diapers. And it's like, okay, talking about this product for diapers, I'm going to imagine that I'm a mom and I'm recommending this to another mom. And so that is how I would get into character. But in terms of like faking that I'm somebody else, that wouldn't be the technique that I would use. I would more just put myself in someone's shoes and think, how is this commercial helpful to them? And who am I in reading it? Am I an expert? Am I a friend? Am I a coworker? If it's e-learning, am I somebody that works at IBM and I'm giving John in his office a tutorial? Like I just sort of envision who's actually going to be receiving this message. And I find that helps keep it a little bit more conversational, which is why lots of jobs you might see that are articulate, professional, they're aimed towards CEOs. Those ones might be jobs that aren't asking for more as conversational. They want more polished, more professional, which I would argue that eventually they're all going to go conversational. And lots of times when they think they want polished and professional, they actually still just want a little bit of realness to it. Lose the formalities. In some cases, it's okay to merge words to sound more natural rather than it is or has not, and so on. I would use your discretion on this because many times the client might not appreciate you technically changing the script when you merge words together. But what I will do is if I look at who the client is and I really look at the way the job posting has been done, or I look at what they're asking for, if they're saying like, I want this really conversational, I wanted this to be anti-announcer, then I think it's okay to turn it is into it's, because in natural conversation, I wouldn't say it is. And if you're not sure and you're not positive if that's what you should do, then it doesn't hurt to provide two takes. And then in the message you write to them, maybe say something like, hey, I provided you one exactly as is on the script. And then if you listen right afterwards, there's one that I've made even a little bit more casual so you could hear the two options. The coffee chat test. If you were out for a coffee, would you be speaking to your table guest in this tone, volume, or speed? If you feel like everyone in the restaurant would be looking at you, you feel like your friend would be like, what is up with her? Or you feel like it just seems very contrived, then it's not the conversational read. Coffee chat test. Say, would I do this if I was out with a friend? Okay, so I'm going to give a couple examples because I found that with advice I hear online or advice I've gotten from coaches in the past, they'll say, make it more conversational or make it more eccentric. But I'm like, okay, but what does that sound like? I want to hear what that sounds like. So I'm going to do that for you. This is a conversational, fun commercial. So this is how the announcer read of this commercial would sound, or at least this is how I would do an announcer read for this script. Mike just found a great gift for his wife and is using Give Today to send it instantly. Now Mike's wife can thankfully change the size and color and decide where she wants it shipped. Gift right with Give Today. Nothing wrong with that, but it's not conversational. I'm going to take a sip of water. Here's what conversational would sound like. Okay. Mike just found a great gift for his wife and is using Give Today to send it instantly. Now Mike's wife can thankfully change the size and color and decide where she wants it shipped. Gift right with Give Today. So that one was way more toned down. And you'll notice what I did in there. So, you know, those flair words I was talking about? That was kind of what I did with great gift. And I also kind of played with instantly. I just said, Mike just found a great gift for his wife and is using Give Today to send it instantly. Also, you want to highlight Give Today, but you don't want it to be like Give Today because that's too over the top. This product is also, or this spot is also funny. You know, it's tongue in cheek and there's some sarcasm in it. So you want to show that you understand that sarcasm. And sarcasm is a very conversational thing. It's a very conversational idea. So let's go to the second line. Now Mike's wife can thankfully change the size and color. I've also toned down the volume of my voice a little bit compared to the announcer read. And in this line, I'm kind of imagining that I'm this announcer, but I'm like kind of talking to the wife in this case. And that wife Mike has given her gifts before, and Mike's kind of screwed it up. And so now she can thankfully change the size and color. And I'm also smiling because I want it to be fun. It's just because Mike has screwed up in the past doesn't mean that that he's not trying to do a better job. Next line. And decide where she wants it shipped. That's one way you could read the line. And decide where she wants it shipped. And decide where she wants it shipped, because maybe he shipped it somewhere else. So in one line, you can do it several ways. Last line. This is the announcer version of the last line. Gift right with Give Today. This is the conversational. Gift right with Give Today. Doesn't even need to be super energized at the end, even though there's an exclamation point. Be cautious of exclamation points. Unless it says we want a ton of energy, we want this to be super fun and capture people's attention, then you bust out the exclamation point voice. So I'll do that one more time. Mike just found a great gift for his wife and is using Give Today to send it instantly. Now Mike's wife can thankfully change the size and color and decide where she wants it shipped. Gift right with Give Today. One thing I also do is I love shrugging my shoulders and kind of going like this because it makes it feel more conversational to me. That's a style that works for me. So maybe there's something that you do that you could lead into. Let's do conversational e-learning. In this case, somebody might be really professional about this because they think it's e-learning. And they're like, it's for an office. I've got to be super professional. That's not necessarily the case. Here's what professional, kind of boring, kind of monotone would sound like. Have you ever been scammed? If so, you know that feeling when someone has taken advantage of your trust and accessed your personal data. Now more than ever, it's important to protect yourself by knowing the common warning signs to look out for. Let's take a look at how scams are structured. Here's the conversational e-learning, which if you're seeing like a website builder, like a Wix, a Squarespace, anything that's in tech right now, like they want this like really laid back conversational delivery. And that's also a good tip is go to tutorials for sites like Squarespace and Wix. And I mean, there's a million of them and watch their tutorial voice and you'll notice just how natural it is. It's incredibly natural. So here's how I would make this more conversational for e-learning. Have you ever been scammed? If so, you know that feeling when someone has taken advantage of your trust and accessed your personal data. Now more than ever, it's important to protect yourself by knowing the common warning signs to look out for. Let's take a look at how scams are structured. So again, I'm doing a lot of this, but I'm kind of talking to a friend, and that's the jacket I put on for that one. So those are just 10 of my examples because I know we don't have a ton of time today and I want to get to the Q&A, but I have 10 really great ones that you can get on my site and also more tips on how to grow your voiceover career super fast. It's more live coaching and it's completely free. I just wanted to make sure that you guys had even more to take all of this in. So when you go to my site, this is exactly what it's going to look like. And my site's AndreaCollinsConsulting.com. And then you're going to put in your name and email and like instantly you can watch more coaching from me. It's about 20 minutes. So it's more juicy tips. Learn how to start making more in voiceover quickly from home, online, affordably. So many people try to get you to dump way too much money into this, and I'm going to teach you how to thrive without an agent, because that's another thing. I had agents and I was making like $400 a month, which is nothing to sneeze at, but now I'm doing a lot better. And I still have those agents, but that's not where my work is coming from. So to think that you need an agent to be successful in 2020, I 100% disagree. In fact, that's what held me back for so long. And I'm not just saying that. You can really take this into your own hands, and all the tools are at your disposal because they're all online. So if you want to get that live coaching session more with me, AndreaCollinsConsulting.com. That's where you can get it. And we can continue this conversation after this webinar. Ta-da!
Awesome. That was great. Glad to hear some of those tips there. And I think you really nailed it. I mean, with some of the things you were going over and how much this is really, being asked for, and how laid back people are really looking for it. So I think you really nailed a lot of good points there, and happy that we could cover such great material there. In regards to the questions, we will get started there. So the first question that I have for you, Andrea, is how did you decide to get into voice acting?
That's a really good question. So I was in radio, and I don't want people to think that like being in radio, you're at an advantage. I think that anybody can get into voiceover, and especially now that the reads are so conversational, the way I would have been trained. So that was working at a radio station. They had some commercials that needed to be voiced, and a producer was like, hey, why don't we teach you how to read commercials? It's part of your job. And so that's how I got into it. But I'm still trying to unlearn some of those super radio announcer qualities that were instilled in me from the beginning. So that's how I got into it. But I don't think that that's necessarily a way you have to get into it. Like, especially now, I don't feel like you have to be an actor or you need to be a broadcaster to get into voiceover anymore. Can you see me, or am I still just sharing my screen?
No, I can see you as well. Actually,
Okay.
That's a good thing. Is everybody in on that? Can everybody see Andrea as well? Let's see. Somebody could just write in this questions.
I could.
Okay, when you talk, yes. Okay, perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, whoever's talking, it looks like it's flipping over too. So, okay,
great.
Good to hear. And for the next question, what was your first big break in your voiceover career?
Someone reached out to me online, and they wanted to do a kid's toy because I had done a radio commercial for a dentist's office that was for kids, and they liked my delivery. I don't know how they found me. And it was for a scooter, like one of those little scooters you've seen all the kids go down the street on. And it was like major peaks and valleys. It was crazy over the top. My voice hurt so much after doing it. But I remember getting the check, and I was grossly underpaid for it. But I was so excited about it because it said it came from Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles. And like, I grew up in the prairies in Manitoba and Canada. And so like, that was so far from my idea of, my existence then. And so that felt like my big break. And then I was doing a lot of television stations, their imaging. And that felt like a big break. I was with iHeartRadio. And so I was also doing HBO Canada and Gusto, which is like our food network. But then when I was laid off from that job, those jobs also went away because that was sort of part of my contract at my old job. And so I would say my actual big break, and I'm not just saying that because we're with voices.com right now, it's when I joined voices.com, because that's when I actually started building a client list and not relying on other people to just bring me jobs or bring me auditions. It was that, holy smokes, I'm getting 20 to 30 auditions a day or whatever through voices.com. And in getting these jobs and doing a good job, hopefully getting repeat clients. So sometimes on Voices, like even I won't book a job one week, but I might have 4 or 5 clients return. And so now it's become an actual business. And I would say voices.com was my big break.
Oh, that's really great to hear. I mean, that's what our goal is in all of this. So glad to hear that was kind of your experience there. And yeah, just like you said, it brings the power into your hands and allows you to kind of build a full client list where, if, like you said, you didn't book a job 1 week, well, you might have 3 or 4 clients that happen to be pulling one up. So rather than audition, maybe you get it directly. So no, definitely glad to hear that. And the next question, this question is from Jennifer C. How conversational does a client really want?
That's a really good question. And that's a good question because I have auditioned for jobs and I've given them a conversational read, and then I hear what they chose and it wasn't conversational at all. Sometimes you're just not, sometimes you're just not going to know the inside of that person's head and what they actually want. So I would say use your own discretion. Conversational is still like, it's not, there's the coffee chat test and all those things we talked about being yourself, but it's kind of yourself, but with a little bit of a coffee and like you've taken a shower. It's not so laid back that it's lazy or it's mumbly or there's a lot of weird pauses and ums. It's conversational, but like with a little bit of energy behind it. And so how do you know how do you know how conversational a client wants you to go? Was that the question, Kyle?
Yes.
Look at the job spec. It might give some extra details in the description of what they want. Like if they say not over top salesy, we want this to be really relatable, then I think I would go quite conversational, but then maybe give them a couple of options. And then some of them will say like, we want anti-announcer. We hate that. Then you can really lean into the conversational read.
Definitely. No, that was a great answer there, Andrea. And I also want to fall back on kind of your tip there before as well. Don't be scared to do a little research on the company and they have already, VOs on their site for tutorials or, ads that they've done and a great way to get a feel for, what direction they typically lean in. So definitely, I think those are some great tips there. All right. The next question is from Jennifer C. again. Do they want casual talking to a friend on the phone reads? Including mumbles, lipses, et cetera, or do they want something a little bit more formal with words pronounced completely and clearly?
Yeah, I would go with words pronounced completely and clearly, but not over pronunciating. I do think it's okay to merge words together, like we were saying, creating an it's out of an it is. I think it's okay to take the liberty to do that. So I wouldn't add ums, I wouldn't add pauses, unless I did a job the other day that I was supposed to be leaving a voicemail, and a lot of people, they posted like a whole bunch of those jobs on Voices. So you might have auditioned for one of these too. And I'm thinking like, okay, if they want, well, one, they said in the posting, you can change words up if you want, like, or a little bit, like if you don't want to use their instead of whatever, you know what I mean? Like you can change it up so it sounds more conversational to you. Just make sure you're still getting our general message across. So I went with that. Like instead of saying hello, like they had at the beginning of the script, I was like, hey. And there were a couple other instances in that script where I just took the liberty to make it a bit more conversational because it was a voicemail. They wanted it to sound real.
Definitely. No, that makes sense. And yeah, taking your own version on it and your own twist on it, with just those little minor things, really can kind of deliver that. So another great tip there from you. And the next question here, this question is from James. What kind of work should I submit for a demo reel? Should I find a script, just record a voiceover, or take it as an acting approach, get into character, and then record my voiceover?
Yeah, I think if getting into character is embodying, like we were talking about, who that script is for and who are you as the person reading it, that's good getting into character, but that's just something you should always be doing for every piece of voiceover that you're doing. And it's not character work. It's more, I guess I just don't call it that because being a character feels fake to me. And when things, unless it's a character in a storybook or a character when it comes to gaming, that feels like character to me. In this case, I would say put yourself in the shoes of who you would be reading that script, which some might argue is the same thing. That feels more palatable to me. I would do that for sure when you record your demos. And then also voices.com has some great scripts on the site that you can use to record demos with. Also, if you hear something on the commercial, I think it's fine to copy it and do a demo. Some people think that's a bad idea. You could change a couple words in that script or even change the company name so you're not actually plagiarizing.
Definitely. No, I would agree there completely. And yeah, it's kind of a weird thing where, to each person, whether it's acting or whether it's, just who you are, it's kind of, a person by person basis, right? So, just try to be authentic, be yourself.
Yeah. And I think it's a lot about just like relating to the person who it would be. Just think like, this is a mom and it's for children's Tylenol and your kid's really sick. Like you're worried and maybe you are a mom. So you can probably just like, you can feel that empathy. If you're a guy, there's different scripts coming towards you. This is a total generalization. Maybe it's about cars and you just think about how much you love your car and that delivery comes more natural to you.
No, definitely. That's very true. So, definitely great piece of advice there. And then the next question is from Dane. What would be a good question to ask a client or director when they send a reply to me asking for a read to be more conversational?
Okay. I would listen back to your original piece of audio that you sent them. Sorry, he said he's gotten the job and they want it to be more conversational.
Well, I'm not sure. It may be an audition that they like and are just asking for a little bit more conversational, but they're intrigued and they want to hear more from them. And they're asking for the read to be a little bit more conversational. Got it.
So go back and listen to the first piece of audio that you sent them and ask yourself what you could do differently. Maybe that's, changing an it is into an it's. And maybe that's also, you'll notice that you were way more announcery than you should have been. Maybe you were over enunciating. Maybe you were performing too much. Just ask yourself, how could I make this more natural? Write down a couple of things. And then, if it's a short piece of audio, let's say it's an audition, give them like 3 examples. And each time try to start like conversational, more conversational, even more conversational as much as you can. Give them lots of options. Otherwise it's going to turn into a back and forth, or they might be like, okay, he or she can't do it. On to the next audition. So you want to give them lots of examples.
Definitely. No, I think that's a great point there. And I love your tip earlier where, just kind of being yourself, the shoulder shrugs, how you normally talk can just help so far and go so far in just kind of, capturing that natural, relatable tone for yourself. So, I think all of those are really good tips there. All right. And let's see the next question here. Oh,
lots of questions
here. So sorry, I've got to scroll up to back up. Keeps putting me down to the bottom of the list. Okay. All right. So many requests for conversational read. Sorry. Okay, but so many requests for conversational read have copy that is not written conversationally. What would you do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see that a lot. And it's almost funny. It's like, how the hell are we going to make this conversational? That's when I would incorporate, like, there's got to be some, even the script that we were practicing about being scammed. If you first read that over, you might not think that was very able to be conversational, but there still are ways. Like, yeah, let's say they're selling some like super technical product and it's B2B and you're talking to like, code designers. I don't even know how to say it. There's definitely some language in there that's just so far out of where it would feel conversational. I think you can still find those moments. You can still find those moments, whether it's, I wish I had a super technical script in front of me right now. I could be reading a technical script right now, and if I was using this tone, it would sound more conversational. It's when I start to talk like this that it doesn't. So I think you can still lean into a casualness when a script is technical. I hope that helps. I wish I actually had something in front of me right now to show you.
Yeah, I know it's a little bit easier when you have an example that you can do, but
that's tough. But I would say try your best because I think that you can find something in there.
Definitely. No, great. Thank you there. And the next question, Chris would like to hear your thoughts on adding a pregnant pause every once in a while. In casual speaking, I know I occasionally pause for a split second to collect thoughts for the rest of the sentence. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. I guess I would want to know how long that pause was. Chances are it's probably too long. Sometimes we can all go back in and edit our breaths out, and that can make things seem too fast. So I do think space is nice. It would depend on the script. If this was very dramatic, I think some pausing is okay. You can almost see how a script is written. You know, if it's like short sentences or like one word, they're probably okay with some pausing. But you have to keep in mind, if this was on the radio and if there was such a long pause that people would go like, wait, did my radio just die? It's too long. It comes across as dead air. So as long as it doesn't feel like it's lingering too long, you could try it out.
Definitely. Okay, perfect. And then this one is from WB. Are conversational ad libs encouraged? A chuckle or etc. When you think it's appropriate?
Yeah, you know how I was talking about the flair words? I think that this is a way to add interest to a word. I'm conflicted on the giggle because it feels a little cheesy to me. And we were talking about the conversational read in the Mission Audition podcast too. And if you want to go and listen to that podcast, there's some examples where people who are auditioning, they put in a laugh, but to me, it kind of sounded a little fake. So I think if you can pull it off in a way that it feels natural, that's okay. Like for instance, the Give Today script that we were doing, there was kind of like this fun of, and she can thankfully send it where she wants. Hear that laugh that I just did? It was like, she can thankfully send it where she wants. That feels more natural than like she can thankfully send it where she wants. That feels fake. Yeah. But I do think that's a good question. And I think that it's okay to add, what if a sentence starts with, what if you could change the world? Instead of reading it, what if you could change the world? You could go, what if you could change the world? What if you could change the world? Like you lean into it a little bit. I think it's okay to add some of those and maybe just one per script.
Definitely. And I think, kind of one of those rules of everything in moderation, right? Like, make it natural and don't go overboard with it. But, if you're the type of person that can get away with it, then you're kind of being authentic to yourself and giving that personality. So
yeah, good call.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, so Jonah, he's wondering, he's heard a little bit of confliction in some tips adhering to punctuation in the script. Some say play with it, but a casting director I spoke to said never change the punctuation. You can add, but don't ignore. What's your approach?
I think that's probably true. You can add, but don't ignore. Yeah, I mean, definitely do it the way that they want it on the script first. Lots of times, do it the way they want it and then do it the way you're imagining. I think that's one of those instances where you can provide two takes. If you think what they've done is completely bogus and you're like, why would they put a sentence like that? Yeah, maybe give it to them in the way that you think makes more sense. But chances are, give it to them the way it's written and then give them another version afterwards.
Perfect.
Or even like, if it's that sentence, you could, no, that's probably not a good idea. Just give them the two full versions. Yeah.
Definitely. And then for a fun little kind of break in it, Joseph says, thanks, Andrea, you rock.
Thank you. This is so fun.
Oh, God. All right. So next up, we have a question from Steve. How do you deal with copy that's clearly written as a sales pitch, but they're still wanting that conversational read? People don't converse with each other like that salesy sound.
I know, especially when it's like the back and forth between two characters and it's like, Brenda, how'd you get your windows so clean? It's like, who would ever, it's just so fake. You've just got to put yourself in those shoes and try to make it relatable and just try to make it as natural as possible. If it's super cheesy, give them what it says on the script. And if they write you back and they say, we liked that, but we want it more casual, you could always say like, can I play around with this a little bit more? And they might say, sure, like give us another read of what it says on the script and then give us your interpretation of it.
Definitely. Now, Neil sent over a question. This is an interesting one. He said he has a very Scottish accent and has concerns that his distinctive accent might limit his opportunities. He sees many Americans doing British accents, for example, but everything he knows kind of tells him to stay away from like fake accents. So he's wondering, when they're asking for that English British, what is really being, asked for? Any thoughts? Like, could he, kind of mosey on into that area? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So in the sense that if it's a British posting, he's wondering if he can make his Scottish accent, if he can go British or if he can just use his Scottish accent. I'm not sure exactly what he meant by that, but here's my take on that. If you feel like you can do a believable British accent, then I say go for it. If it says they want British, lots of times they might just think they want somebody from a different part of the world than North America. Bust out yours, like show them your authentic self, and chances are like they just didn't know that they wanted Scottish, and they don't know that until they hear it. And again, if you think you can do a believable British, start with that, or start with your Scottish, put both of them in the audition. I'm making it sound like I do that a lot. It's like with the 2 takes, and sometimes I do, but it's only if I don't know what they want. So with these questions, it's a lot of these instances where you guys are saying like, what if we're not sure? And I think if you're not sure, then just trust your gut or give them 2 options.
Definitely. And I think kind of like what you said there, a really important part is, can you nail that type of accent? Like if you know it sounds fake, then, maybe stay away. But, if it's something that you're pretty confident in, definitely feel free. But also speaking on kind of, them looking for outside of North America, so many times clients are, putting in British and really they're looking for just that European sound, whether it's, English, British, Irish, they're looking for kind of that, non-North American sound. So, it certainly doesn't hurt. But yeah, that would be, my take on it as well. All right. Do you suggest doing voiceover sitting down or standing up?
I do it sitting down. I would do it in the way that feels most comfortable to you. I do it sitting down. And if you're doing a whole bunch of auditions in a day, I don't know, whatever makes you more comfortable. Maybe you could do squats while you're doing them. But I do them sitting down. But I have heard that it sounds better when you're standing, or I guess some people would say that, but I haven't noticed much of a difference in myself.
Okay. So kind of go with what, kind of personally fits you best and makes you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Perfect. All righty. And John wants to know, do you have any kind of warm up before reading?
This is actually something I need to work on because I started experiencing voice pain. And I went to a voice doctor last week and he looked at my vocal cords. He stuck this like literally thing that was this long up here and then all the way down. And he made me go, ee. And he looked at my vocal cords and he said that they looked fine, but I should go to a voiceover physiotherapist, basically a speech pathologist, because warm-ups are so important. So now I would say that, I guess I do need to get into more of a warm-up. I am being more cautious of the amount of coffee that I'm drinking. And also I find that sometimes at night, if I have wine, it bugs my voice more in the morning. Now, because I'm a mother of a 10-month-old, all I have is coffee and wine. So I'm trying to ease that back a little bit. And I do think that I'm going to get into voice exercises and taking better care of my voice.
Definitely. And I think kind of, coffee's good to get that energy going, but I think it's kind of that hydration factor, right? Of, drinking lots of water, making sure that, your instrument, per se is, well hydrated and ready to go. So definitely.
Yeah, a lot of people that I coach have complained about, they feel like they have a lot of mouth noise, which might be something that some people watching feel like they're experiencing too. And I also feel like staying hydrated is so important with that. I even noticed some mouth noise on myself the other day when I was listening back to some work I'd done. And I thought, oh yeah, I don't think I'd had a glass of water in like an hour. And I think I just had lunch and I could just hear a little bit more of the sticky ickies.
Oh, geez. So Tyler Cox, does your coaching include some one-on-one practice sessions?
Yeah. So in the program that I was talking about before, there is live coaching within it. It's not directly with me, but I do also offer that. You can check it out at andreacollinsconsulting.com.
Perfect.
Also, if you've taken that program that I was talking about, you get access to more affordable coaching.
Awesome. That's a big key there. The word affordable in coaching is sometimes few and far between. So glad to see that.
Yeah. And you know what? I'll tell you a quick story with that. And I know that we're out of time, so I'll make it super brief, but a couple of years ago when I really wanted to take voiceover to the next level, and it was right when I was laid off, before I'd figured out how to really get the business model going and start to find my own gigs. I went to a coach and she was supposed to be one of the best in the biz. And I felt really taken advantage of. Like in the first session we had together, she was very critical of me. And I remember thinking like, I don't think I'm that bad. And then she said, you know, the only way we can make this better is if you do 10 sessions minimum with me at like a whole bunch of money. And I thought, this doesn't feel right. You know, I had that gut feeling you know, that's a lot of money. And I was just laid off from my job. And I'm so glad that I didn't do that, because lots of times people can figure it out quickly. And honestly, your best practice is going to be doing auditions over and over again, seeing which ones you get the thumbs up on, and then listening back to those and going, what did I do there that they must have especially liked? And almost being your own teacher and listening to a lot of content online, watch TV, listen to the commercials, mimic them. You want to be yourself, but it helps to still like be like, oh, wow, that was neat what that person did with the word there. I think that you can be your own coach in a lot of ways as well.
Definitely. So this is a really good question, actually. Hi, I'm a college student with a lot of free time on my hands right now. I've been told that I have a great podcast voice or voiceover, and I'm looking to invest more into voiceover. I took the steps to buy equipment and even purchase a membership with voice.com. I'm serious about getting more involved in this, and I don't want to spend tons and tons of money on acting on an acting coach either. Do you have any advice as to what steps I should do next? If I'm confident, I should be, if I'm confident, should I do voice demos? What do you think?
Yeah, I get asked this question a lot. It's a great question. What you've done so far, investing in getting a microphone and getting voices.com, that's the best thing you can be doing right now. Don't rush out and make a bunch of demos. The only demos you should be making are for your voices.com profile. Even then, as we all know, it's not necessarily about the amount of demos you have on your profile with voices. It helps with the voice match, certainly, and you should definitely make sure that that's set up. But also, you can just start auditioning for jobs, and that's technically to the client your demo, because they just want to hear you reading their script. So what you've done in getting voices.com is, my opinion, the best thing you can do, as long as it's premium or higher, because then you can start auditioning for all of those jobs, and that's the best practice you can get.
Definitely. That's, I think, kind of a huge thing that a lot of people kind of overlook is, you know, actually doing those auditions and, you know, hearing yourself on the microphone. You just get more and more comfortable, and you learn a lot about yourself throughout the process. So, you know, it's kind of almost, you know, that practice that you need. And then as soon as that first job gets booked, you know, it's all of a sudden, you know, off to the races there. So
and so much of it has to do with confidence. So once you book that first job, you're going to be like, okay, I did it. You know, look, yeah. I'm a voiceover artist now. And keep in mind that, you know, like I do so many auditions, and the amount of jobs that I actually get out of those, you know, it's very few. Like, you're doing this is one of those industries in the sense that, like, you have to do so many auditions, and then you'll get those jobs, and then you'll get the repeat clients, and then your portfolio grows. But don't get frustrated if you're doing auditions for what feels like weeks and weeks and weeks with nothing. Stick at it. Like, it'll come. It'll come. As long as you're getting thumbs up, I think that's a good sign. If you're not getting thumbs up, you need to figure out, is your sound okay? How is your delivery? And maybe try to figure that out. But first, give it a good go on yourself, by yourself.
I think that's amazing advice, because, you know, it can seem a little bit tedious off the start, and kind of having that patience can be tough. So, you know, believing in yourself, you know, putting in that practice, you know, the auditions, and kind of gauging it that way is a really great way to get started without having to dish out, you know, your whole bank account. So definitely. Mm-hmm. All right. A lot of reads say spokesperson, engaging, and relatable. Is this a different type of read, or would you say that falls within the conversational read?
Yeah, I've seen this one, and I've thought to myself, spokesperson sounds like another word for announcer. But if it says relatable and conversational, I think you can say to yourself, that person just chose spokesperson because they want that person to be a representative of their company. It doesn't necessarily mean they want them to sound announcery.
All right, so we will have to do just one or two more questions here. I know, looking at this long list, that we will not be getting to quite a few there. And just to reiterate, if you do have any questions that are unanswered, definitely feel free to reach out to Andrea there. Check out her site, AndreaCollinsConsultation.com.
AndreaCollinsConsulting.com.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Hey, all good. I think that my info is going to be sent out in a follow-up email as well, I think.
Yes. And just kind of go over that now would going to your website be the best way for them to find your information in the meantime, or is there a way you would like people to reach out to you in the meantime?
Yeah, go to AndreaCollinsConsulting.com for the extra coaching of the other 10 tips and more live coaching and more on how to grow your voiceover career. I have another coaching session that I was telling you about. So when you go to that site, just scroll down a little bit and you'll see where you can put in your info, and then instantly you can start watching that next coaching session. Also, you can contact me there. I have other courses there as well. I have opportunities for one-on-one, so it's all there.
Perfect. All right. So it was really great having all of the attendees here. Really, really great having you, Andrea. Thank you so much for spending the time to go over this with everybody. I know it was super informative and super helpful for a lot of people. So yes, thank you very much for participating in our very first coaching webinar.
Thanks for having me. It was an absolute honor.
Anytime. And that will be the end of today's webinar. I hope everybody has a fantastic day and enjoy the rest of the week there, guys. Bye now.
Bye.